All right, hey everybody, this is Nikki Burnett and Gabrielle Grandel, and this is Functional Friday.
Hey, everybody.
Sorry, I know that you had something you wanted to say, so I was waiting for you to say it.
Yeah, well, we're glad that you're here and listening, or if you're listening on the replay, we're always glad that you're here and you tune in. And our mission and goal is to help, to serve, to help empower you, and to remind you that one of the most important forms of activism and self-care is to take personal responsibility for yourself, because we can't control others, but we can control the way that we respond to our environment and the steps and things that we do every day. And so, we're just encouraging you to find your voice and find your fire. And some of the ways that we can do that is through improving our health, and giving ourselves the wherewithal and the energy to, to do that, and the mental health capacity and those things. And so it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be all at once. And we just wanted to talk about some things today that, maybe you could implement in your life to help create health and improve your well-being, be it mentally, physically, spiritually. And so, yeah, so that's what we're trying to do today. We're going to keep it kind of light and encouraging, and we hope to lift your spirits a little if you're down, but just also help you realize how much power that you have.
Yeah. Agreed. We're in a world right now where there's not a lot of emphasis that's being put on what we can do in our daily lives just to keep ourselves in a good, healthy, as you said, healthy mental, physical, and spiritual position. And there are lots of things that we can do that can keep us healthy, but that are also fun, that are also light and easy and doesn't take a lot of time. And it's something that we'll pass on to our family. If we have kids, the kids are doing it with us, and those things that can then pass on to the community. And that's where we are right now, is we need to build ourselves up so we can build our family up, so we can build our communities up. And that's where it has to start. Right. And so, along those lines, we've been, pretty deep over the last few months. I was going to say weeks, but it's been the last few months. There's been just a lot of heavy stuff, both in our world, but then also with just the stuff that we've talked about. So we really want to just kind of bring it back, keep it light, and know that, these are things that we do in our own daily, whether it's our regimen or, when we're working with clients or just for ourselves and our families. And it's just nice and easy and relaxing. And that's really what we want out of this, and we want for you. Yeah. So, and these are all going to be really basic, but the basics are what matter. And so don't take it lightly, even though it's light. Don't take it lightly, because it's these small things that can make a big difference in your immune system, in your outlook, in your cognitive health, in the way that you work with your families, the way that you are successful in your career. All of these small things that don't seem like anything make big differences. So off my soapbox and on to sleep.
Yeah, starting with sleep and rest, because I think in this culture, we're often, caught up in the performance and go and do and all those things. And we kind of underestimate the value of rest and recovery. And sleep is so critical. That's, there's a lot of recovery that happens while we're resting, in the brain and elsewhere. So we're shooting for 7 to 8 hours of sleep, minimum maybe 6, right? But 7 to 8 is usually ideal, and you'll find your sweet spot. Everybody's a little bit different. And some days, in some weeks, it's taxing on you, and you might need a little bit more. That's okay. Maybe you might need a nap too. That's okay too. So sometimes it's hard for people to get to sleep and fall asleep or stay asleep. So we wanted to give a couple of applicable. This is all about practical tools. Like Nikki said, small steps add up to big changes. You probably heard that before. And so if it feels overwhelming or, unattainable, sometimes we give up. But if it's things that we can do and we can create habits around them, then then we build a lot of success that way. So do you want to share a few things that you're thinking about when it comes to sleep, or you want me to share?
Yeah, sure. I think, yeah, no, either way. I mean, I think we're always pretty much on the same page, which is why we work well together.
That's right. That's why we're friends
But,
and partners.
I know, exactly. One of the things, so I sometimes can work late, and I know that I have to have that shutdown time. And so I try not to work after a certain point, but sometimes it just happens. But it is an awareness of the screen time, and we hear it all the time, but it's such a big deal because it throws off our schedule. And so, it's the screen time, but also not as much on top of that, it's, the blue light blocking. So whether it's glasses, I know on my computer, there's a blue light blocking. It's not an app. It just came with the computer. You can put it in there, and there are other apps and on your phone and things like that. Get that blue light out. It's a train wreck. It's tough. And I've noticed such a difference because when it, sometimes it'll come back on and I'm like, whoa, too much. I can't handle it. It's amazing the difference. And it's good stuff. So really taking that time to calm the brain by getting off the computer, going and reading. I almost said going upstairs and reading. That's what I do. Not everybody has upstairs, but go to bed, sit in bed, read. That calms me, calms my husband, kind of, gets you in that good place. And just don't do it on your phone. I know that there are the iPads and things, and maybe if it looks like a book, I think that they have I don't do that, but it looks like it's an app on the book, on the iPad or the Kindle or something like that. But as long as it looks like a book and you don't have the light, then I think that's what's really, really important. So, I mean, is there something more you want to add to that?
I just want people to understand that, the reason why we're promoting that is that when we have the blue light, it tricks our brain into thinking that it's time to wake up, right? It's like, so then instead of producing melatonin to help us, go to sleep, we don't. And, and we might produce more cortisol and we wake up, we get a second run. So blue light blockers are great. Just limiting your screen time is good, at least an hour or so before you go to bed, if you can. There is a free software I have Windows, so I don't know if this applies to Macs or what, but it's called f.lux, and it's just a free thing that you can download on your computer. But Nikki's right, most phones and other devices have that as part of the settings. You can just turn it on, at certain times. So another tip that I wanted to talk about was your alarm. And so, setting your alarm, but putting it across the room so that you have to get up and you have to physically turn it off. And that's much less likely to, to hit the snooze button or to crawl back in bed. And, when we hit the snooze, we actually go in and out of REM sleep, and it's really disruptful to be waking up and going back to sleep. We think we just want 5 more minutes, but what could we do in that 5 minutes? We could do a little stretching, we could do a little breathing, just kind of sit there and look around, whatever. But but instead of having it right next to your head, and that can be a tip to get you up and out of bed. And then the other thing I wanted to say on that is, when you're thinking about ways to fall asleep, is to try and come up with some kind of night routine that works for you. So we call it, sleep hygiene. So it might be drinking a nice calming tea, or might be taking magnesium, if that's what you need, or taking an Epsom salt bath, or reading, like Nikki was saying, or, something like that. It's calming and not a lot of stimulus. And that can really help you to get a deeper quality sleep. And at some point, we can talk more. We're going to have a radio show, Nikki's radio show, Taste Life Radio, I believe is what it's called.
Taste Like Nutrition Radio. Yeah.
Taste Like Nutrition Radio. And that's going to be coming up pretty soon. And we're going to talk all about kind of our toxic world and things to look out for. And one of those things can be your bedding and your mattress and things like that.
Yeah.
So we won't get into that too much today, but just things to consider.
Yeah, that is an important point, because it can be, if you're toxic because of your bedding, which is in a lot of new bedding, it can also keep you awake.
Yeah.
So I think we all know that there are supplements, there are teas that we can use for sleep, which I think are great. I've sort of become a fan of melatonin lately, and it sort of started for me when COVID started, because it's such an intense antioxidant. It's, as we age, we lose melatonin. And so they're saying with our elderly, that it's adding on melatonin can be an additional protective measure, along with the other things to help with, avoiding getting sick, or if you do get sick, it's, not as bad as it could be. So I think melatonin for how many, I don't know, nothing's for everybody, but I think it can be a good idea. And I really think with the other antioxidant properties that it has, it's antiviral. I think it's it's a hormone, but it's a really interesting supplement for a number of reasons. And again, we're not going to get into all of those here, but I think it can be beneficial for those who need it. What I want to make sure that we hit, though, is the understanding that if there are sleep issues, especially chronic sleep issues, we need to ask why, right? So having sleep problems every now and then is one thing, but as functional nutritionists and in the world of functional medicine, that's always the question, is why.
Yeah.
Is there something going on, whether it's internally, externally, it can be the mind, it can be, whatever's going on in the body, there can be infection, there can be just a number of things. It's inflammatory processes that are not allowing the body to get the sleep that it needs properly, the proper sleep that it needs, whether it's, the inability to go to sleep or waking up or both. So don't just take not being able to sleep lightly. And I know if it's chronic to you, then you don't take it lightly, because it's a terrible feeling to not be able to sleep. So, but you might consider, if this is becoming chronic, or if it is chronic, reach out to somebody who can help you and guide you in finding the reasons why this is happening. Don't just let it slide, because you don't, if there is something underlying, which there probably is, then things are going to continue to probably not move in the best direction. That's just one symptom. Maybe other symptoms will pop up, and those are the things that we want to avoid.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's you can get so far taking a supplement or tea or doing these kinds of things, but yeah, if you're not addressing blood sugar dysregulation or all the things that you mentioned, it's only going to last so long, right? So yes, good point. We're all about investigating why the body is not functioning the way that it needs to. It's usually right what it doesn't have enough of something, or it has too much of something, right? So figure that out.
Absolutely. It sounds simple.
It is a simple concept, it's just not simple in application.
It is.
But you want to work with somebody that's willing to do that deep dive with you. And then encouraging you to do the work too, to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. 15-minute appointments usually not enough.
That's right.
So moving on, looking at, obviously we're nutritionists. That probably should have been what we started with, but but we hit all of these. I mean, as in the functional medicine, functional nutrition world, it's not just about food. Food is huge, but it's about all of it. It's about lifestyle. So we want to hit all of these things if we can. But nutrition, we're looking, as basic as it gets is eating an anti-inflammatory diet, right? It's eating lots and lots of organic, non-GMO vegetables. It's eating lots of good, healthy fat, good, healthy meat that's 100% grass-fed or pasture-raised, things like that. Clean, good, healthy food is what's going to support us and give our cells, give our DNA the the signals, something that I say a lot is that food is a language, and it's literally the nutrients within food are what tell our body what to do. And if we're eating
Right.
unhealthy foods or foods full of toxins, our body's like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
But if it's clean, it sends a very clear line of communication. The body's like, okay, I got this and I got you, let's go. Right.
Yep. Yeah,
It's
totally.
important. Mhm.
It is. Yeah. It's more than fuel. It's information for your
Yeah.
cells, like you're just saying. And
Mhm.
I do want to point out, there are vegetarians listening and vegans and things like that. So if it's, something that you'd like to do to pursue a plant-based diet, and you want to avoid animal products and things like that, you can still live a very healthy life, if that's what your body needs. And but I think the point that we want to drive home is that if you are going to consume animal products or any plants or whatever it is that you're eating, that you make it the most healthful that you can in terms of the ingredients. It's not the calories, and it's the quality, right? It's the quality of the calorie. So, right. And if it's organic and non-GMO, it's going to be more nutritious. It's going to have more nutrients available for you. And it's not going to be, covered in so many pesticides and things that are actually inflammatory to your body.
Mhm.
And just finding out what works for you, because all these, there's a lot of dogma out there about diets and specific plans and paleo and keto and this and that and the other. And it doesn't, what works for me doesn't work for you. And so work with somebody that can help you dive into that, maybe through functional testing or, just conversations about what your body needs and what it's supported by. Um, and that might change over your life too. It may not be the same thing that you do while you're pregnant than when you're not, or if you're, really, training for something, or you're really stressed, or whatever it might be. Those nutrition requirements, they can change. And so we just
Right.
want to be careful not to get married, to one specific way of eating. But I also want to say, just briefly, that there is room for, everything doesn't have to be super clean all the time. Like there is room to, have a cocktail if you choose, or have some pizza or a brownie or whatever it is. And I think that there's more stress sometimes that can be created around trying to be perfect and avoid those things, internally, than just going ahead and having the donut and moving on with your life, right? Like we're always advocates for doing the best things that can nourish your body and support you. We want to educate you and help you, make those connections. But I just wanted to say that we don't live inside a bubble either, and we don't
Right.
advocate that for our clients either.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So nutrition. And then on that note, can I just say caffeine, because we were
Sure.
talking about sleep earlier, and just
Mhm.
another way to get sleep. And this, I mean, is pretty obvious, right? Like you probably realize that, caffeine lifts you up and works by producing adrenaline, and that's followed by cortisol. And anyway, so I have caffeine, and I think a lot of people do. But if we can shut it off, after lunch, not have anything after lunch, and be mindful of our consumption before that too, that will help. Because I don't know if a lot of people realize, but if we're not detoxifying well, just even 1 cup of caffeine can stay in our system for 10 to 20 hours. So that one little cup that you had in the morning could be part of what's keeping you up at night. So something to consider.
Yeah, good point. Okay, I love this one because it reminds me of this time of year, but
Especially where you
nature and
are.
sunshine. Yeah, we've got some really nice sunshine right now, and I'm excited about it. But getting out in nature, it's so important to get out in the sun and enjoy the sun and feel the sun on as much of your skin as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Don't cover up. I think that it's important to understand a couple of things about the sun, because what we believe to be true, that it's damaging and its rays are damaging. Well, if for one, it's a problem because the sun is given to us by God and it's healthy and very healthful, but we also need to respect it. And so what, we all have our different skin tones. We can handle a certain amount of sun.
Yeah,
I personally can handle a
maybe
pretty
not
good
that
amount
much.
of sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But it's okay to be in the sun for a period of time where your skin starts to turn a little bit pink. And that will be different for Gabrielle, and it'll be different for me. But that's okay, because that starts to get I don't know what it gets working, but it allows us to get the vitamin to utilize and to convert that vitamin D the way that it's supposed to. Because for one, here in the United States, the sun doesn't hit us well anyway, where we really convert vitamin D well. Where so many of us are deficient anyway. It's just kind of just the way it works and the way that we live. But it's still, that sunshine is important. And again, on all of your body, on your skin, on your eyeballs. That was something you said a little earlier, Gabrielle, is getting some sun, on your eyes. And, I'll go outside. I hope this isn't too much, but I'll meditate in my backyard, and I'll put on shorts, and I'll put on just a little tank top. And I literally will lay there and get as much sun on me as I possibly can without offending any neighbors who might look over my fence, which is 6 feet, and they shouldn't, but you never know.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I want to say a couple things about that. So there's actually some doctors that specialize in autoimmunity, working with folks with like psoriasis and, eczema, which is not necessarily autoimmune, but, skin problems. And they won't even work with people unless these people commit to sunbathing nude for an extended period of time, because that's how powerful the sun is on their skin. So I think that's pretty amazing. And then, there's healthier sunscreens out there than others. Like Badger is a good brand that's pretty, got some pretty good ingredients. We need to remember that not only are we blocking the sun when we're putting the sunscreen on, which we don't want to be doing, but we also don't want to be soaking in all these nasty chemicals that are in so many of the sunscreens out there, because our skin's going to soak it all up. But for somebody like me, and if you're fair skinned, you just watch how much time you're out there, and maybe you do want to wear a hat or something. And maybe you want to put a little bit of sunscreen on your shoulders or something like that. But the idea being that you expose as much as you can, as often as you can, being mindful of your skin. And there's an app too that you can download called D-Minder that tells you about how much vitamin D, that you're soaking in during that time. I've been meaning to investigate that. I don't know a lot about that, but I was just I just heard about that. So D-Minder is something to look into. And then kind of come back to sleep, again, the purpose of getting your eyeballs in the sun and not wearing sunglasses, especially early morning sunshine, it helps regulate our circadian rhythm, our cortisol levels, which is, supposed to be high in the morning so we can do all the stuff and things. And then it goes down as day goes on, so we can then produce melatonin and go to bed. And, sometimes when people are having like a lot of adrenal issues and, or they work, night shifts for a long time or whatever, their circadian rhythms out of balance, that is one easy way that you can start to re-regulate that on your own. So if you have like a morning practice, if you drink your coffee or your tea, or you read, or you look on your phone, or whatever it is you're doing in the morning, can you do it outside on your patio? Even better, can you, go on a quick little walk or something? But really, sun gazing, and sunbathing is really, really good for us.
Yeah, agreed. We're running a little bit long, so I want to get through some of these, but I think it's important when we're talking about nature to talk a little bit about grounding. If you haven't heard about grounding, it literally is walking barefoot. And so there's, electromagnetic waves. This is outside of my world when it comes to all of, the way the world works, but they're not rays, but they're waves. I don't know what they are. Anyway, it's real. It's
frequencies.
Energy.
Yeah.
Frequencies. See you,
Yeah.
rock. but they come from the earth. And when we wear rubber shoes, or just shoes, period, but everything's mostly rubber, we're not taking those in and utilizing them when they are so powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
understand this is not woo-woo, this is science. And that everything is made of energy. Energy doesn't go away, and we can use and utilize that energy, and it makes us healthy. And how much do you love walking in the sand? How much do you love walking in the grass? It's the best thing ever. So do it, and do it frequently, because it can calm you. And it's just really, it's one of those things that's so simple. We just don't do enough. I don't do it enough, especially in Colorado. I don't do it half the year, but
Right. When it's cold. I get that.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, and so it's the negative ions from the earth that are supporting us, where we're being bombarded by positive ions from all of the Wi-Fi, which is a much higher frequency than the frequency of the earth. And the earth's frequency is the same frequency as our brain and our heart, which is very, very low. And so when we tap in and we put our feet on the ground, like you were talking about, we absorb those negative ions, and we regulate that frequency, and we can kind of fight off the EMF a little bit better. And yeah, you think about, that's why animals and dogs, and they have such an affinity for the ground, for laying in the grass and laying in the sun. Like they haven't let their intuition be disrupted by different mixed messages that we get. But so water and sand and grass, and even stone, wood, all those things help, because sometimes people don't have as much access to grass and things, but all those other things are also really, really beneficial. So cool. Nature is good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Get out in it. This is a gimme, a given. It's a given, but we still don't do it enough, I think. But just movement. Yeah. Exercise, move, get out there, even if it's taking a walk. So you can ground, and you can be in the sun, and you can move all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That's the ideal. Yeah. Find something that works for you. That I think we tell our clients this, and we try to practice this ourselves. Not one exercise is the right thing for everybody. And, there's more and more evidence coming out, particularly around like hormonal cycles and stuff for women, about what we should do at different times. Try to listen to your body, but, and don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform something, if your body's not feeling it that day. A walk, a yoga, session, stretching, dancing, taking the stairs, any of that stuff is great. I think, the other thing is it produces what's called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And that really helps with mood and cognition and memory. It's one of the most powerful things we can do to produce that molecule. So, and then just all the other benefits that come from it. Mm-hmm. So, yes, that's good.
Yeah. And I think, we hit on this a little bit earlier, but community, we have come to a place where people are afraid of community. And I think that there are a couple of problems there. For one, lack of community. For two, just living in consistent fear. And that's something that I think it's important that we get away from, to your comfort level, obviously, but community is so important. We are a people who connect, and we're made to connect. That's how God built us, is to connect, and and to feel that energy off of each other, and want to give the good energy. So the fear doesn't give good energy. Protect yourself however you feel you need to be protected, because it's your world and your life. And everybody should do the same thing that they want to do for themselves. But making sure, however it looks for you, don't isolate, find your community in whatever way that looks like, and dig in and just love on it, because it's so important for all of us. And isolation is, it's deadly. I think isolation is deadly.
Totally is. That's why, there's a lot of psychology behind that. And that's why, when you're in prison and stuff, they put you in solitary, and some of the worst, torture methods that they've done over the years. So there's a lot of issues with that. And, so if you have, look for like-minded people, look for people that can support you, that you feel good when you're around. And then if you can touch, and you can give a hug, that's even better, because then we produce all that oxytocin, all that good stuff. And just feels good to be touched and to touch others. And if you don't have a lot of people around you and you have a pet, that works similarly, just loving on them, getting a massage, something like that, where you're stimulated in that way, is super important. Like you said, we're not meant to do life alone. Which leads to spirit.
And I have to throw out something out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, it does. But I want to say real quick, it just, sometimes I feel the need to say this because I think we've all been in, maybe not all of us, I think this is a growth thing, but you grow up, you are intentional about the people who you surround yourself with. And I think it's important to be intentional about the people you surround yourself with. And if they're not lifting you up, then there probably shouldn't be a part of your circle. And so I just think that that's really important, because drama is not healthy. Just to put it out there, it's not good. And, just being pulled down is not a good thing. We all want to be lifted up, and we all should be lifted up. So on to spirit, the best and the last.
Yeah.
And so I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And, so whatever that looks like for you, if you're not a believer, if you are a believer, then you can have a constant conversation with God, and you can, talk with others about that, and you can look at scripture, and you can pray, and you can do that anywhere and anytime. And, if we're open to receiving, we often will get messages to support us, or at least that's been, my experience. And there's just something, really beautiful about that connection, and knowing that you're not alone. And that, that we have a lot of, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, right? We are very unique, and we have a lot to give. And we want to do things that let our spirit and our energy shine through, let our light shine. And so those are some kind of things that you can do. And if you're not necessarily, that's not your jam, just looking at things that can bring you gratitude, really focusing on that, like gratitude journals, or, even just writing 1 to 2 things, or saying them out loud. Like when you wake up in the morning, are you thankful that you're alive? And putting that out into the universe, even just smiling, just making yourself smile, even if you're having a tough day. There's a lot of chemicals that are released that way. Our body's just really amazing. And there's a few other things, we can think about too. Do you have some things to add to that? I think music, another really good one.
So, one of the things that I think, music is a great one. I love good music. One of the things that you triggered in my mind when you were just saying that is, and this is for, well, it doesn't matter, but when I did there's a guy who's on the same station as my radio show. He has his own. I'll just say it because he's great. You should listen to him. His name's Charlie Pacello, and he's a life coach, mindset, trauma. He's really amazing. He's on top of my mind because I did my show with him yesterday, and he's just so good. He's just brilliant in the way that he sees the world, and he helps people. But his show's called The Council, so I'm just going to let everybody know that you should go watch it. But one thing he said to me, and it was during one of our shows together, he said that prayer is talking to God, and meditation is allowing God to talk to us. And I will never forget that. I love it so much because it's true. I talk to God as often as I can, but then when you meditate sometimes, and this is different for everybody, but sometimes you're doing a guided meditation, or sometimes you're maybe doing, affirmations when you meditate, or maybe you're just reading the Bible, or whatever it is that you do when you meditate. but sometimes literally just being still and just focusing on your breath can allow you to open up to whatever goodness is to be brought in. So that was what triggered a thought for me. I just really like that. So I wanted to share.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I have one other thing that I wanted to say too on that. When I was talking about smiling, and making yourself smile, how you can raise your spirit and shift your psychology. But I also saw another coach saying, and this seems so counterintuitive and challenging, but you try it. So like he says to laugh, to say something out loud that's really hard and laugh about it. So like, so you might say, oh, I just lost my job. Or like I broke up with somebody that I love. And you make yourself laugh about it because it shifts those gears, and you think, okay, this isn't really as hard as I'm, internalizing and making it, because laughter is powerful medicine. So we can.
I like that, because when you do that, then it makes everybody else laugh. Yeah.
Right. And if you're around anybody else too, that's contagious, and that's a good thing. So so check it out sometime. Try it.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I need to remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Anything else? I think I'm at my end.
Yeah.
Not my end.
The end of the Functional Friday for today.
Yeah.
I don't think I had anything else necessarily. We just, if you have anything that you want us to talk about, we're always open and ready and willing to do that. And we're thankful that you're listening. We're thankful for you. We love you. We care about you. You are not doing this alone. Always reach out to us or whoever else you feel comfortable with, or God, or write about it, or anything. But just remember that, it's there's that you're not alone, and that your life is worth fighting for. And these are some things that you can do to take some steps to help yourself feel good and live the life that you deserve to live.
Yeah. Great stop. I love it.
Okay. Yeah. So you can find us livingwelldallas.com, Gabrielle at livingwelldallas.com, 972-930-0260, or on any of the social media under Gabrielle Grandel.
I am Nikki Burnett. Company is Taste Life Nutrition. Everything's Taste Life Nutrition, the website, the social media. It's pretty simple. Thankfully, I kept it that way. But reach out. On my website, I also have a free assessment. So feel free to jump on, fill it out. I reach out to you personally. We chat a little bit. And if there's stuff we need to talk about, then we do. And if we need to go deeper, then we do. So,
right.
And like Gabrielle said, we want to talk about what you want to talk about, because we can talk about this stuff all day long. So post it below. Let us know if you have thoughts or ideas or questions or whatever it is. We're here to be of service to you and anybody who will listen to us.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. We will see you. I don't know, April. What day is it? April 4th?
I don't know offhand, but it's the first Friday of every month is when you can find us.
Yep.
Functional Friday,
yep.
First Friday, 12 o'clock Central, 11 Mountain.
Be there.
Yeah, be there. Take care and have a great weekend. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.